Good evening, campers. It's me, the mother flippin' sun boy, and today we are going to discuss Authority, the second in the Southern Reach trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer. Why am I reading this? Carolyn H. Hampsey, links down below, said it was the best trilogy. So, your boy wanted to read it. Now, I will say that the general consensus of this, based on what I've read online prior before going into this book, and from the YouTube comments from my Annihilation video, is expect Authority to be very different to Annihilation. And I'm going to tell you something now. People were not wrong. If you thought we are going to be in Area X, no, we are going to be in a government building. I know that sounds enthralling, but trust me. Within Annihilation, we had the first person point of view from the biologist, looking back on the situation of Expedition 13 and how things escalated. Within Authority, we moved to a third person perspective, looking over John Rodriguez, who is the new director overseeing the Area X expeditions. Now, John wants to go by the name Control, and we're going to have that name scattered predominantly throughout this book. Now, who is Control and why has he been brought in? Well, that's kind of his job. They want to see what happened and why the old director has disappeared. And we're going to find out that the director was the psychologist within Annihilation. And John is trying to piece together, well, what has happened, and what is going on, and why certain things are currently going on. With that, we have the absolute audacious but bold move by Vandermeer, because Annihilation is very fast-paced, it's very well plotted. John Rodriguez is coming into a foreign land, similar to the expedition moving into Area X, but this is a bureaucracy-filled office where nothing really happens. Small talk happens. People are just trying to get on with their jobs, and he has to report back to his boss, who gets increasingly frustrated that he doesn't know what has happened, but he needs to talk to people to get the information who don't particularly want to talk to him. Authority, it being over 100 pages longer than Annihilation, would feel like a slog, but truly I don't see how Vandermeer could do it any other way. Talking about a workplace environment, it's not going to be fast-paced. It's not going to have a plot to some degree. We are following a man in his day job. If for any notion this is going to be structurally and grounded in the foundations of Annihilation, almost bat off straight away. This is a very different book. There's no way that he can increase the plot in it, apart from making his audience feel, just like in Annihilation, that something is around the corner. Vandermeer plays with our notions of terror and our expectations of what has happened in the prior book. What happens when Control walks around a dark corridor? What happens when he slowly opens a file case? Well, it turns out that there's nothing really around the empty corridor, and what's in the file case is what you kind of expected to be in the file case. Vandermeer is a little bit sadistic in this, while at times works very early on, slowly becomes a bit like a lingering fart, just stays around a bit too long. However, with Authority, what I do appreciate is that he trusts the reader. Of the information that we are told about Authority, they don't really explain anything that's happening in Area X, but we are going to get glimpses into how this is constructed and what the biologist got right and what she got wrong in Annihilation. We do understand that some things that are being said are wrong. We understand that we as readers who've read Annihilation know the answers that Control can't get. or information that he glosses over, we know as the reader that that's the piece of information that he needs. That would help him unlock the key or answer the mystery. I say mystery, but that's not the word that I want. More so, he just needs to round off the edges to give some definition to what has happened. He's not looking for clarity. Also, than Annihilation, where the ending didn't really give me any answers, this doesn't really give you any answers. It doesn't really give you any conclusion. It just leads you into what is going to be the third book. Acceptance. We're going to move into that, and how he's going to do it, I'm unsure if it's going to be a hybrid of Authority and Annihilation, or if he's going to take the structure in a different way again. You could say that he's treated the format and the structure of these books in an amorphous way that Area X represents, that it refuses to be defined, it refuses to be held down, and how that it's sprawling into different areas and we don't know what to expect from it. Maybe Acceptance is going to be more of a traditional story, or is it going to go a more experimental way within Acceptance? I'm not entirely sure, but I hope that he's going to move into that area. He's going to defy my expectations of what a book series can do. And despite this not being the most enjoyable, all while in the same breath, yes, I know I just did a cut there, don't worry about it, just ignore it. This wasn't the most enjoyable read, but for what it is and for what Control has to do and where it's set and how the information is given out to us in a workplace setting, it kind of does what it said it was going to do. So I can't really be annoyed that he wasn't giving me Annihilation, because even though it's talking about the situation that happened in Annihilation, as well, we have this experiment with the rabbits, but the rabbits are on the outside, and how do they come onto the outside? Don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel as though it would be a discredit to Authority to say that it didn't follow in the footsteps of Annihilation when it's clearly not following in the footsteps of Annihilation. It's not following the footsteps at all. It's circumnavigating around it, trying to figure out where the footprints are, who put the footprints there, and why the footprints are even there to begin with. It's completely abject to the situation. And therefore it kind of, again, it's audacious and it's brash and it's a little bit sadistic that it wants you to go through a very regimented, bureaucratic story in order to get the answers in a way that just defies your expectations of what you've just read previously. And because of that, I really like it. I like what he's done, and therefore Authority, Jeff Vandermeer, you can have a 6. And I'm going to order Acceptance soon. So, see me for that review. Bye!